Yes, I know that once again we are late to the party, but I don't think it's a party anyone cares about anymore. It might as well be a funeral. Of course, we are talking about the latest entry in the X-Men franchise, the Dark Phoenix. The film had so much going on in its favor: the takeover of the studio that owned the film rights by the biggest entertainment powerhouse, the revelation that the father of the movie franchise, Bryan Singer, sexually assaulted several people yet again, a change in release dates, lack of marketing, reshoots to change its final act. I mean, what movie in today's day and age doesn't have some backstage drama? This one had brand awareness, Disney power, and notoriety in its corner, and it still dropped the ball. I know that was mean, but Simon Kinberg also had $200 million to spend, so forgive me if I'm out of sympathy. Mutants may have finally returned home, but that was no way to close the curtain on one of the most enduring movie franchises of all time. You were supposed to do it right, Simon. You were supposed to undo the memory of The Last Stand. Guess we'll never see the Dark Phoenix saga done right again. But wait a minute. It has been done right. That too in 1994. At a time when superheroes were nowhere near as popular as they are today, and geeks hadn't taken over the world yet. We are talking about the iconic X-Men, the animated series. Revisiting the show after watching the abomination Dark Phoenix made me realize sometimes the wheel does not need reinventing. I am Abdul Ghani of Nerdytainment, and let's take a look at some of the reasons why the animated series is the best adaptation of the Dark Phoenix. Number 1. X-Men the animated series was not a one-man show. The X-Men comic books were popular because they featured diverse characters. All of them were iconic in their own right, with histories rooted in trauma, tragedy, and despair. Unfortunately, very few of these characters have received that kind of attention in the movies. Almost every character that was in Wolverine, Charles Xavier, or Magneto was a secondary character in the film. And let's face it, Mystique was only popular because of Jennifer Lawrence. The Dark Phoenix saga revolved around Jean Grey and her relationship with the rest of the X-Men, especially Cyclops. Majority of these characters did not receive any attention in the past movies, so it was impossible to establish that connection in just 2 hours. The show used its serial format to its advantage and tackled the Dark Phoenix saga in its 3rd season. By that time, the main lineup had been well established and the fans knew what to expect from them. Cyclops was a Boy Scout leader who could do no wrong until it came to his loved ones. Xavier was the virtuous, differently able telepath with baby mamas all over the planet. Rogue was a perpetually horny powerhouse who couldn't decide if she liked men more than her powers. Storm was a force of nature with a dark side. Gambit was the anti-hero thief with a heart of gold who is often misunderstood. Beast was the nerd and the exposition tool. And Wolverine was the anti-hero who grumbles and acts like a badass, but in reality has a heart of gold. Hey, wait a minute. Where have I heard that before? Number 2. A prequel that worked. As great as the Dark Phoenix saga is, it's incomplete without the Phoenix saga. The original saga marked the first appearance of the Phoenix Force and showed how the Phoenix was not always an evil entity. It was after she experienced sensations of the flesh that the Phoenix Force took a dark turn. The Phoenix Saga set up a proper origin story for the Phoenix, grounding the phenomenon in cosmic elements. It introduced the fans to the Shi'ar Empire, Lilandra, the Starjammers, and Dicken. The storyline also featured an episode where Professor X's dark astral projection turns against his beloved X-Men. Imagine seeing that on the big screen. The Dark Phoenix movie had X-Men Apocalypse as a prequel. And by prequel, I mean a one scene in which Jean Grey showcases her Phoenix ability. Talk about being underwhelming. Number 3. An amazing supporting cast. The Phoenix and the Dark Phoenix storylines introduces us to some of the most amazing characters who are almost as good as our beloved heroes. The animated series made the most of a memorable cast of supporting characters, giving them meaningful roles and interaction with the usual protagonists. The doomed romance of Charles Xavier and Lilandra, the tragic story of Corsair and Cyclops, and the battle between X-Men and the Imperial Guard are some of the most memorable moments from the storyline. Of course, the standout characters were the members of the Hellfire Club. Sebastian Shaw, Emma Frost, and the Dazzlers are all very powerful mutants in their own right. They have appeared in the movies, yet none of them left the kind of impact that they had in the animated series. Number 4. Creative freedom. Unbridled by the burden of a multi-million-dollar budget and surprisingly lenient censorship practiced by the Fox network of the time, X-Men the animated series was able to retain many of the adult themes like racism and the complicated storylines like Dark Phoenix Saga in their original form. Every character in the series is three-dimensional and each of those dimensions are on display in the Dark Phoenix storyline. Cyclops constantly battles himself over whether he should follow his instincts as a leader or should he support the woman he loves. Xavier and Lilandra constantly make sacrifices because they need to put duty before their personal desires. Wolverine can't bring himself to kill the woman he loves, even though she has destroyed an entire solar system. You also see signs of conflict between Xavier and Cyclops. The show did not shy away from depicting the enormity of the Phoenix threat to the entire universe. The story is told on a massive universal scale. The biggest surprise comes in the final episode where Jean Grey commits suicide in order to stop the Phoenix. For a kids' cartoon, the contents of the show were surprisingly very adult-oriented, and this shows that the show was way ahead of its time. Number 5. Staying true to the comic books. The first X-Men movie was revolutionary when it came out back in 2000 because it was surprisingly grounded and made the contents of comic books serious for normies. In fact, some people believe it set the tone for comic book movies that followed, including the Dark Knight trilogy. However, the series' biggest advantage was also what went against it. How do you depict an intergalactic storyline that combines elements of space opera, aliens, elemental forces, and mysticism like the Dark Phoenix in a franchise that is grounded and serious? This became especially apparent after the success of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The X-Men movies felt like a relic of a time long gone, and this was evident in the last two movies of the series. The animated series, on the other hand, never deviated from the source material. The showrunners embraced both the serious and the silly elements of the comic books. Perhaps this is why even to this day the show is touted as the most faithful adaptation of the X-Men. Do you agree with us? Feel free to share your thoughts. And don't forget to like, share and subscribe.